Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
We're going streaking!
Dave's Video Graveyard.
That guy in a little coat. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm not a smart man.
Shut up!
One tubby.
What's wrong with him?
My first thought would be alive.
Why so serious?
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, Ma! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
Of all the radio shows in the world, this is definitely one of them. Dave's Video Graveyard on 100.5 WOWFM.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
It is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard for your Monday night. A massive pleasure to be back in the seat and starting off with an apology. Absolutely sorry that we didn't make it in last week. Paul did, but I didn't. So he broadcast from outside the studio and was just hoping he was loud enough to go on mic. Paulie, sorry I missed last week. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. Yeah, no, I've been trying to, it's my last day of holidays as of today. So I've been trying to watch a film a day. So I've been doing pretty good.
Nice.
So yeah, I've watched 2 Kurt Russell films in 1 week.
Well,
So-
that's what I call life. Living. Welcome to living. I have been moving house for the last 2 weeks straight. Because it turns out when you hoard / collect Ninja Turtles and videotapes, doesn't make for a pleasant experience when you got to pack them up and move them. And I've been just living a nightmare. And I've watched perhaps...
Life decisions.
Oh, man. I was like, you know those like hoarding shows where they get people in?
Yeah.
I wanted that, but I also wanted like just the flipping houses where they just knock it to the ground and bulldoze it. I also wanted that. It's been an absolute nightmare. Have you managed to check out anything new? This is how busy I've been. I didn't get to see the third Bad Boys film at the cinema yet.
I was going to ask you if you saw that, because that was doing money.
Michael Bay rang me and asked me if I was okay, because I wasn't there on the opening week. But
It's like, we haven't got your ticket stub, and there hasn't been a full bottle of Mountain Dew left in the cinemas, so you haven't gone to see
there
Bad
was
Boys
no
3.
ginger-scented sweat on any of the seats. Well, there was, but it was different.
I think a certain hedgehog's chasing Mike Lowry, because that's making some bank as well. So
It's crazy. But also at the other end of the scale, I'm hearing nothing but bad things about his Spies in Disguise, the movie where Will Smith turns into a penguin. No, a pigeon.
How could that fail? I've also heard that Dr. Dolittle is actually financially on track to do worse than Cats.
Wow.
Because Cats at least made back its production.
And that's the movie that potentially wasn't going to get a wide release on DVD.
Yeah, because he basically wanted to do a dark Dr. Dolittle, and they said, no, Robert Downey Jr., we're going to make a dragon. We're going to make you have to put your fist into a dragon's rectum. That's apparently one of the big scenes, one of the tentpole scenes of the movie, and it's not working for him.
I do like that Robbie Downey Jr. is becoming the Rob Schneider of the MCU, because it's just like...
Robert Schneider Jr.
Yeah. Anyway, more importantly, this evening it is once again a guest choice special, and we are joined by Wrestle Rampage's Robby Heart. Robby Heart, how are you, dude?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, gentlemen. This is exciting.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I will warn you, if you get out of line, I will powerbomb you through the console, so that's a warning that you've got here at the start.
That looks like a painful console. I don't know if I really want that, to be honest.
Oh, we've sorted it halfway through. It's okay. That's why 10 favourite films over the next 2 hours. And anyone that's out there listening can let us know what they think by simply joining our Facebook, Dave's Video Graveyard on WOWFM, and letting us know what you think. But how was the process of narrowing it down?
Very hard. Very, very hard. And obviously, I was a little disappointed that a few had to miss out. I'm particularly fond of films these days. My girlfriend Shannon and I, We watch a lot of films.
Ooh, girlfriend.
Yeah, just putting that one out there.
Humble brag.
She's actually, she's really into her movies. So
she's real. She goes to a different school.
I have to actually say though, I was at the movies recently and I saw a trailer for that Dr. Dolittle. I don't know what the hell was going on in that, but nah, seriously, they have.
Unless Norm Macdonald isn't voicing the Doctor.
Way off the mark, man. I was just like, what am I even watching? I was just like, wow.
Maybe one of the ghosts of Downey Jr.'s past that saw him do one of his crimes back in the late 80s rang up and said, guess what?
Yeah.
You're doing this movie.
No, I think he was on his
100%.
He was on his blow run about 20 years ago. It's like, you got a contract here for Dr. Dolittle. He's like, this is worse than I won't open that kid's bed.
Now, you've plowed your four-wheel drive into this family's home, but you've also signed a piece of paper in there that said you do Dolittle.
What a night.
Oh, man, that does look like... Oh, I just don't care. I didn't care about his Sherlock. I just don't care about him as a leading man.
And I must say, as this is going to totally lose all respect for that, I watched with my kids the Dora the Explorer, like the new Dora.
Yep.
It's actually really good. Like, not like I would want to watch it again, but I'm like, as far as like a kids movie with actual appeal to adults, I'm like, this isn't bad.
Dora is uncomfortably attractive. Moving right along. Moving right
Stop
along.
ruining things.
And boy, is Map sexy.
Oh, God.
So, you are a pro wrestler. You have been for a very long time.
Yes.
One of the old boys when it comes to the local scene.
One of the old dogs.
How did you get into it?
Well, I just always had like an interest in pro wrestling as a kid. Watched it early on, back when it was really unpopular. Trying to even find just, videotapes was, hard enough as it was. I used to go to the same video store. I think it was a Civic video maybe on South Road across from Castle Plaza. And, you'd go out and you get all the most recent Royal Rumbles and things like that. Speaking of which, Royal Rumble today.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Paul will just judge you and shake your head every time you mention pro wrestling this evening.
Okay.
Oh, no. I just... When you said power bomb, I'm just like, every wrestling move is a sex move.
Yeah, so we're all good, yeah. I'd be catching all the latest, like, you call them pay-per-views now, but they were videotapes back then. And
Coliseum home release?
Yeah, exactly. Lord Alfred Hayes, I think his name. Yeah, so that must have been from even before I can remember, and then eventually I kind of grew out of it. And then all of a sudden, people around high school are wearing, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin 316 shirts. I'm like, whoa. Like, when I was younger, you couldn't find figurines or merch anywhere.
Yeah.
So now people are, like, repping that all over the place. I'm like, whoa, so wrestling must be cool again. Like, got back into it. And then kind of just, like, fell out of it again, I guess. And then I think once upon a time, my friends were, like... jamming with a guy who was going to be a vocalist for their band, and he's like, do you guys like wrestling? You should come out, check out one of our shows. And they were like, well, we don't, but we've got a friend that like loves it. So I went out and checked out this show. It was an RCW show.
Right.
And I was just like, I can't wait to see this. This is going to be amazing. And it was a little bit different to what I expected, but I was just like, well, why can't I do this? I was like early 20s at the time, and I was like, let's just give it a shot. So I went out and started training, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Here we are,
I have such a love for pro wrestling from back in the day, but the local scene blew my mind because obviously grew up much similar to yourself, absolutely obsessed of it, and to a like detriment where it was like, it was in my group of friends, liking wrestling in the early days was the same as like liking Star Trek, where it was like, oh, what a loser. I can't believe he likes that. But I stuck with it, and then it got quite trendy with everyone. And then moved to, grew out of it a bit because around 2006, I just didn't like the two major products that I was watching.
Yeah.
And got out of it and then moved down here late 2006 and went to a local show. And we went to, I believe it was EPW at the time.
Yeah,
that
right. Yeah,
blew my mind. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Then went to a Riot City show and then went to the northern suburbs. For the first time ever, I saw a 6-year-old kid use the C word in the crowd, and I was like, wow, I've never seen that before.
All right, we're doing this. We're doing this.
So I fell in love with people watching,
as
well as wrestling.
Characters for sure.
Definitely. Who did you grow up? Who was your favorite wrestler of all time?
I had two. It was definitely Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. So
great choices.
I remember when Shawn Michaels had his initial retirement back in '98. I was pretty devo, but then he came back in 2002, I think it was, and I think that was kind of the first time when I thought, like, maybe I should give this a shot.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to even start, but that really kind of motivated me to think, well, maybe you should try this at some point. So yeah, him and Bret Hart, I just thought they were really cool dudes, awesome wrestlers. They were smaller guys, which is more my thing, being a smaller individual myself. And,
don't we both know what that's like? Yes, yes.
Yeah, and just the wow factor with when they performed, like incredibly athletic, very talented, but awesome characters.
Well, it's all
charisma. It was all about that kind of stuff. That's what I love about pro wrestling.
It's all those mid-sized guys that have to prove themselves because they don't have the physique of like the giants.
Exactly.
So they've got to stand out in other ways, and those two names definitely did that.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could wrestle any wrestler, pro wrestler, alive or dead, who would be your dream match? And at any era, it doesn't have to be them now.
Even their death.
I like to think Shawn Michaels and I could have a pretty good match.
Yeah.
I think we turn it on, put it at Mania. Let's book it. Come on.
No, let's do it.
He's still going. I watched a match with him recently. It was that Saudi Arabia they were doing.
I was so happy.
I have to admit, I was a little, frightened and underwhelmed in the sense that, he's getting on, but he still went out there and did it. He did a moonsault to the outside at one point, and I was like, wow, man, like.
But he is Samson with his golden locks, because the further his hairline went back, the less I was interested, and then he finally got rid of it.
He's repping the shaved head now, man.
No,
like.
Thank goodness. Because if he grew it back in, it would start back here anyway, at the back of his head.
Yeah.
And also, what is your laundry list of injuries? All our pro wrestler guys that come in give us a laundry list. How have you done over the years?
Pretty lucky in the sense that I haven't had any really serious injuries as such. I mean, I've done things along the way like hyperextended elbows, constant back issues, sore knees, and things like that. But yeah, touch wood, I haven't done anything majorly serious at this stage, which is, I think I've been quite well trained, and I try to look after myself when I'm out there. As you get older, you try to think more about longevity in the business. I still like to wrestle for a real long time, be one of those real old guys, and that's what it's all about. Just making sure you're healthy, I guess.
Yep. So you're going to be flaunting around like an old Ric Flair, taking minor bumps one day?
Think about that. We could do this again in 10 years' time.
And we will still be here.
Blood pressure pending. I will be here. If I stop drinking gravy, I think we'll ravine back here in 10. Paulie, why didn't you like Jared Leto as the Joker? When you listen to Heath Ledger as the Joker, there's no way that you could hate Jared Leto.
Oh my God.
It is Dave's Video Graveyard, Robby Heart's guest choice special, and we are up to his very first choice. And he's starting with the big guns with, I don't know, an Adam West Batman adaptation. We are talking about the Christopher Nolan film, The Dark Knight. Why did you pick this film?
Heath Ledger, man. Wow. That performance is just, completely brilliant in every single way, shape and form. Seen a few of his films over the years until he passed, unfortunately, but the way he was in that, he stole the movie, he made it his own, and I just could not have that film in my list. The mannerisms, everything about what he does, just completely brilliant. So yeah, had to go in.
Oh, definitely. For Batman fans too, it just ticks so many boxes of because there's sort of allusions to other stuff, and it was also found out later it was heavily influenced by the movie Heat, and you can totally see that. It's just apparently he got the whole cast and crew to watch Heat and 2 other movies before they started. It's this is where I want to go. And
it definitely felt like Heat in 4K. It was the quality step up in every way. But what I loved about it was because Nolan was going for the hyper real version of Batman set in a real world. But he still let Ledger be the most over-the-top comic book character of all time.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, he obviously, after death, won the Oscar, but well-deserved because I believe he's only in the movie for, something crazy
it's 25 minutes out of,
Yeah, it's almost like cameo appearances.
Yeah,
but the one thing that you remember is just the way he was and his performance. Anytime that movie's on TV, if you gotta watch this, and you'll sit there just in silence, and you'll be like, this is brilliant. It's so good.
Anytime I see Michael Jai White or a lead pencil, I think it's The Dark Knight.
I think that because his performance, basically, even when he's not on screen, he's now like got you in. Like you know that he's behind everything that's happening in that. Like one of my favorite scenes is not actually with him in it, but with the when Dent's got the cop when he drives off with him in the ambulance, and he's basically turning into Two-Face, and that scene there and the actor there is just like it's so good. Every performance in that film is just perfect.
I really enjoyed... I don't like Aaron Eckhart, who plays Harvey Dent. I don't like him as an actor. But the reason...
I Frankenstein.
Other than I Frankenstein. After watching this movie, he was on one of the late night talk shows, and he was talking about movies, and they were talking about, how Battle of Los Angeles didn't do quite as well as he thought he would. And then The Dark Knight. And they were like, oh, what do you think of The Dark Knight? Like, do you revisit it and stuff? He goes, I've never seen it. They're like, what do you mean? He goes, I've never seen it ever. Not even the opening night and stuff. They're like, what are you talking about? He goes, I've never once watched one of my movies. I just can't do it. And to be that pretentious when you're that unimportant to the film that and it's such not a shame, but Christian Bale was an amazing Batman. I don't think he's the best Bruce Wayne, but I definitely think he's an amazing Batman.
Yeah.
I always feel sorry for him because he was so outshined in this movie. The movie basically got taken away from him because Heath Ledger was just so good.
Totally.
And I love the behind-the-scenes picture of Heath Ledger kick-flipping a skateboard over Batman lying on the footpath.
Yeah, I have seen that.
It's just such a good part of this movie.
Have you heard much about the new one? Because I just started shooting it.
Well, it's James Gunn, so...
No, it's Matt Reeves.
Oh, we're not you're talking about...
The Batman.
The Batman.
With Robert Patrick.
I thought we were talking about Suicide Squad too.
No, not Robert Patrick.
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
I'm up for Robert Patrick.
Yeah, I know. Apparently they're focusing on him being a detective, so that's why they've got so many villains in it, because you've got Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, at least, so far, with 2 other roles, because there's a Sarsgaard's in there. There's all sorts of rumours about what he's going to play, so they're going to do, more as him as a detective, so they're jumping from villain to villain. I reckon it's going to be cool.
What's your history with the Batman movies?
I actually remember seeing the first ever one with the original Joker at the movies.
Yeah.
Now, I'm showing my age a little bit there, but...
That was the first film I saw at the cinemas.
Yeah. One of my first as well. My uncle actually, took me out of school and said, we're going to go do something cool today. And I was like, this is amazing. I still remember...
That's the start of a true crime story in 2008. Back then it was a delightful family thing, but now it's the really intense music comes in. It's but were they going to have a good time?
Batman Returns was my first M-rated movie I ever saw, and then I was like, oh, I've got to go see an M-rated movie. And then I'm like, it's just clowns bumping around each other.
The part in that Batman with Jack Nicholson, I remember the end when he dies and he's obviously hanging onto the ladder.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, why doesn't the bloody guy driving the helicopter just lower the helicopter down to the
yes, right?
As a kid in the movies, I'm thinking this. I'm like, he just sees the buildings right there. Just lower it. And he's just sitting going, I think he's all right. Yeah, he's gone down a couple of rungs, but don't worry about it. And before you know it, he falls. I'm like, well,
he looks so Cesar Romero in that bit too. That was like, Jack, come on, roll. What's my big thing? I think I've discussed this with you before. When he's on the ground and he's dead, but he's got that thing in his pocket that's just
laughing.
What the hell is that?
It's a barrel of laughs.
Yeah.
It's also featured in the film Toys with Robin Williams. It used to be, it was just a barrel that had holes in it, and you'd turn it over, and because it had holes, it would let it slowly drop, and each drop made a ha.
Yeah, but I was just wondering, what?
It's because
I hate Burton
it's because
so much.
I reckon a lot of it's because of Cesar Romero's Joker had a lot of Joker tricks. So he had the hand buzzer.
He should have done what Romero did. Remember how he didn't bother shaving, and he's just got the original. He's got white. Oh,
the original Joker from the Adam West Batman refused to shave his moustache before they put the makeup on. So you watch it now, particularly in HD.
It's like he's eating the crimp.
Just got
the seeded mo, which is clear as day.
Yeah.
Dirty as mo.
Unprofessional. Speaking of Adam West, have you ever seen his appearance in The Simpsons when they see him at a
the car show?
Yeah. And they go up to him. Why doesn't Batman dance anymore? And he's doing this, and they're walking backwards. Just okay.
That was the thing. And that was the post Batman thing. It was Adam West is funny when he's not Batman. He did a secret eight. He was there was a cop series he did for Conan O'Brien produced it, It went for like about 6 episodes if you can find it somewhere, but it's quite funny.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
This is Dave's Video Graveyard, and we are talking about Weekend at Bernie's. No, we are joined by Robby Heart, taking us through his 10 favourite movies, and the next choice from the year 2000, we are talking about American Psycho. Robby, why did you pick this feel-good family film?
Well, wow, another just incredible performance from Christian Bale. Like, just if you've seen like a few of his movies and how many different kind of like characters that he can actually do, this one in particular was one of my favourites. But I mean, personally, I enjoyed it a lot due to the comedic nature of the whole thing, because it actually just makes me laugh a lot. At that scene you just played, it's very humorous, and there's a lot of times you just be watching and just laughing your ass off, and it's not supposed to be, I guess, but that was probably one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much, in the sense that it's also, I guess it's partly horror in a sense as well. But just Christian Bale and the whole comedic vibe of the movie, and it's really good.
Because it does try to have one of those like Inception type endings.
Yeah, that's
where
right. Yeah,
you start questioning whether what you've seen is what happened
exactly,
or what really happened.
Yeah. And the whole 80s vibe, like the music, who doesn't love Phil Collins?
I remember when this movie made it massive, and everyone was like, "Oh man, Christian Bale is so good." And I'm like, "Have you seen Equilibrium?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "You should check out Equilibrium," and then they would, and then they'd come back and be like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, American Psycho is a classic, and Equilibrium's garbage. I was like,
Equilibrium.
Excuse me, are you talking about Christian Bale from Reign of Fire, the Dragon movie with Matthew McConaughey?
Where he does like a play about Star Wars to kids.
We're going to do that on the podcast.
Oh, God. Any film that kills Jared Leto is a friend of mine book.
That's not a bad cameo either. That's pretty cool.
Man, if I was going to kill Jared Leto, God willing, one way I wonder how well.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I'll do it to Huey Lewis in the news.
The thing I like about that scene in particular, it really just shows how serious he is about everything that he says in the movie, and that moment of just like brutality.
Yeah, man.
It's like, I'm dead serious about how I feel about this guy. I'm going to hit him with an axe in the face.
And Christian Bale, being a famous method actor, has always gone above and beyond physically, whether it be weight loss, weight gain,
absolutely.
muscle gain. In this, like, where he's bragging about how many crunches and all that.
Yeah.
Christian Bale adopted that regiment for like a year. And it's like,
wow.
Dude, just say you do it. You look fine.
Apparently, I saw a recent interview. He's like, "Yeah, I'm done with that." I think. Because I watched Vice recently, where he did. He played
Dick Cheney. I was going to mention the same one. Like, incredible, right? Like, wow, he looks just like him.
Yeah.
Like, how does he do that?
Dude, have you seen that?
Not yet. No.
Rockwell as Bush. Oh my lord.
Yes. Oh wow, he is amazing.
Well, I was in the running for Cheney, but just didn't get it. So I put on all this weight, just didn't get the role.
They're like, you're too right wing for that.
I put on all this weight for a role, and it turns out I'm not an actor. So awkward.
It looks so much like Burgess Meredith.
A couple years after American Psycho, there's a film that came out with James Van Der Beek called Rules of Attraction, and it's like a weird, almost like The Beach, but kind of a romantic comedy teen thing.
You're right.
And James Van Der Beek's character is the younger brother of Patrick from American Psycho. It's a spin-off.
Oh, really?
It's the same writer.
Wow. It's the same author. So like the Bret Easton
from Bret
Ellis.
Easton.
Yeah.
What else did he do? He did some teen comedies.
He's done. Yeah, all his books have got something wrong. He's the one that did that thing recently.
Less Than Zero. Speaking of a drug-addled Robert Downey Jr. earlier in the show.
He also did one recently about race, and everyone's like, I don't know whether you should be doing that. This one, I haven't seen it for a while. I reckon it's been a good 10 years, so I have to reimagine it. I remember the novel was one of those ones that got sealed. Like, you couldn't actually... It was actually sealed in plastic in bookstores. It still is, because you can't... It's pretty graphic. Despite there's chapters just on Huey Lewis News. Like, there's an entire chapter about that thick. And then there's also some really shocking stuff in there, too, that wasn't in the film, so...
Oh, really?
Oh, man.
On YouTube a couple of years ago, I'm not sure what it was for, but Huey Lewis actually put out a video where he talks about American Psycho, but it's the exact scene from American Psycho, except Huey Lewis is discussing the book giving all like a review of the book. And I was like, I cannot remember what it was for, but it was an amazing bit of meta humor.
I think a major part of that movie is actually the soundtrack, like just
Yeah.
the constant references to amazing 80s artists. It just gets you in the vibe, you know? It's just it's really
definitely.
cool.
Definitely. It didn't... Were there... When a movie does well that's like of a niche kind of market, were there movies that followed in this thing? Were you getting the... I'm a serial killer, but I'm also... I guess Dexter owes a lot to this.
Dexter would probably owe a bit to it. I think that's sort of like that uber sexualized violent, like, you know, the R18 thrillers we got after this, like, you'd always see him in that special section of the shop. So I think that sort of opened the door. There was a sequel to it as well called American Psycho 2, which was just a slasher movie apparently.
I believe it was about his sister or
yeah,
something.
but it wasn't. It was just like, it was basically just a horror slasher. Like, it had no, like, the sort of definitely didn't have the music and didn't have like the book. I mean the backstory and lots of stuff. So yeah.
This is 100.5
Good times.
Wow FM. It was a resurgence in the life of Mel Gibson, but we are with Robby Heart picking his 10 favourite films of all time, and we've gone down to the second scariest PG-rated film in the history of mankind. You've picked Signs. Why did you pick this movie?
I just love the sense of anticipation throughout the entire film. So you got to obviously, like, the cliche, you know, aliens invading the Earth. You can go two ways about it. You can either come in all guns blazing, or you can do it the way they did. And that first scene where obviously the aliens come and bothering him, and he's on the rooftop, and you just see it for like a split second.
I just go
exactly.
That bit scares the crap out of me.
They don't even have to do a hell of a lot, and that was just like terrifying. And then
Dave still has half filled cups of water around.
Hey neighbors. And they're bolting around the house. They never see. You hear it. It jumps. The sounds.
I was traumatized. I went and saw that movie on a date, and the scene, just staring out, because we had some friends that owned a farmhouse that were like a station, and it had two parts of the house. And one part of the roof attic had a window that looked onto the second window.
Yeah, right.
And it looked exactly like that makeup. And every time we'd go there, horror stories were the go. So it was always a scary thing. But then to see it on film, just that subtle, that alien on the other roof.
Yep.
And also even the birthday party footage of the little kids singing
it
scared me so much. It wasn't until like years later watching Scary Movie 3 that I finally felt a bit better, because that's a parody of Signs and they do it so well. Particularly the dogs are acting funny, like in the start of Signs, except they're riding like horses and stuff. But my favourite parody of all time comes because of Signs, and it's with Scary Movie 3. It is the scene where, in Signs, where Mel Gibson shows up and his wife's been pinned to a tree, and he has that like sorry goodbye, and the guy that hit her, played by M. Night Shyamalan, like says sorry as he walks past him.
Yeah.
In Scary Movie 3, he says, "Hey, I'm going to need a ride home." And it's one of the best, nastiest lines that I've ever seen. But it's so good. This was at a time where it was almost movie suicide to feature Mel Gibson, but M. Night went ahead, because it was right after his controversial rant.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I still haven't got over it. But
so a lot of people boycotted this film, but I think unfairly, because it's one of the stronger M. Night Shyamalan films. It's so, like you say, the build is so effective, because it's much like we've spoken about previously on the show on Jaws, where less is more. Because when they made the original Jaws, the machine wasn't working, so they couldn't show it as much as they wanted to. Same with Alien. And, those movies that really know how to slow burn.
I think
this
they perfectly used the crop circles phenomenon at the time. Like, we all know what that was all about in the end, but the way they actually incorporated that into the storyline, it's like, it was brilliant. And just another part I remember just talking about anticipation is the part where he goes into the crop fields, and you see like the leg, or
the back of the leg,
like just a small little thing like that. It could be anything. You don't need a hell of a lot of special effects, but it's building the anticipation for obviously that really big scene at the end, where it's holding his son.
Yeah,
they do the whole Hollywood dramatic ending, everything like that. But just up until that point, you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time. And I'm a huge Joaquin Phoenix fan, and I think he's amazing in that as well.
Yeah,
when he opens the cupboard and they're all just like got the foil hats on, I'm like, and he's like done Signs, fantastic movie. I'm going to do Lady in the Water now and just ruin my career. I know he did The Village and then Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water, a film by M. Night Shyamalan. I watched a doco on the behind the scenes, not the making of, but the behind the scenes of that film. It got marketed in a way they didn't want to market it because it wasn't a horror film.
No.
And that's what everyone got angry about because it was marketed as one. That had nothing to do with M. Night Shyamalan.
It's like a mermaid film, sort of, in a way.
It's a weird fantasy movie set in an apartment complex.
If you got 4 hours to waste, which we all don't, but they have released a making of Rob Zombie's 2007 Halloween film that goes for 4 hours, and it's literally just someone following him around with a video camera. And it's I hate that movie with a passion, but watching this is really fun because like I think they went through production hell on it, and you can see like a bunch of the actors are just like, oh god, what are we doing? Flick through it, it's good times.
I do love me some behind the scenes. Have you ever been abducted by aliens? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
As far as I know, I haven't been, but it could explain a lot of my weird behaviour, so you never know.
Okay.
Also, I was going to just say I'm a big Joaquin Phoenix fan. I know everyone makes a lot of noise recently about the Joker film, which is amazing, but I wanted to mention 2 of his other movies, if that's okay, real quick.
Can I try to guess one?
Yes.
Her?
No.
Have you seen that movie? No. It is amazing. It's just him for like an hour and a half.
Sounds like a good reason not to do it.
Made someone else's list, as you can see.
Ah, nice.
She got jealous, so she wanted to make her own. So.
We'll run through that later.
We'll get to that, yeah.
But it was You Were Never Really Here. I saw that last year. It's a very art house kind of.
That's the what's that folk artist that I do not like? Bob Dylan, isn't it? Is that still...
No, that's a different one.
That's a different one?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, this is a pretty serious movie where he's basically
the one where he's pretending he's a rapper and being. No, I'm not joking. I'm trying to remember.
He did the press tour. He did that. He pretended to be a rapper.
Oh, it was actually. Yeah.
It
but
was.
He's like a former Marine, and he's a contract killer essentially, and he winds up saving a girl from might be a pedophile ring of some sort, but it's like a brutal movie, and it was like so underground. We went and saw it at the Palace Nova one night, and I was like, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen, and it's just never got any mainstream press whatsoever. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people haven't heard of it. You should check it out.
You were never really there. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the other one?
Don't worry, he won't get there. He won't get far on
cool.
foot.
I think that movie. That's really cool.
Yeah. I'd never heard of that one either. But
Such a catchy title.
Yeah. It's
it's Gus Van Sant film, I think. Yeah.
I'm out.
Just short. He's an alcoholic. Gets into a car crash. Can't walk, and he ends up drawing things with his mouth. And he's actually really talented at it.
Yeah.
And it's just a brilliant, really just feel good storyline.
It's on the
and
streaming service that is like a river. That's not the Nile.
He's acting in both of those movies. I just was. That's when I'm only a recent fan of his work, and it's those 2 movies particularly that I just love.
Yeah, right.
I like his Walk the Line. Like I remember that was like the first time we came to.
I'm more of a Dewey Cox Walk Hard fan.
You'll be the only one.
According to the box office, yes, I am the only one that saw that film.
Oh yeah, he's also in Parenthood. He's the youngest kid in Parenthood.
I tried several times.
On the
and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because it was under a different name then. It was back when he was still in his cult, so I think his actual name there is like...
Oh, because the Phoenixes grew up in a sex cult. No, they really did.
It's just the way it's... Oh, yeah, the sex cult thing. That's and I think his name was like something like Sunshine or something like that. It was like a way...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I have read River Phoenix's...
and it looks really different, so yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
What's your favourite Joaquin Phoenix?
I hated him in Gladiator. Absolutely hated him in it.
I hate Gladiator though.
Yes, so do I. I reckon Signs would probably be the thing. I tried really hard to get into Inherent Vice because a lot of people that I know that I respect their movie choices love that film, but it was just too... Have you seen The Inherent Vice?
I heard of it because it's by...
It's like The Good Guys, but if it was trippy, and it's like a prog rock version of Good Guys.
I think the original book's by someone I like, and so I've always... It's on my list to watch, but I haven't done it yet, so yeah. I still haven't watched Jokey yet, hey?
It is everything everyone says it is, sadly. I wanted to hate it. I wanted to be a contrarian. It is pretty good.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know if this... And it's one of my favourite review I've read in years. There's a site called Letterboxd. So it's basically, you can track the movies you've watched and you can rate them and lots of stuff, and it's really cool. But the review for Joker was, I guess if you've never swum in the ocean, the pool scene's really deep. And that is my new favourite thing.
Well,
I want to copy and paste that onto Sucker Punch.
His performance in that is, I'm talking Heath Ledger level, like, greatness to me.
Cool.
I just, wow, like, yeah.
All right, I'll reserve my but now that I've seen that review, I don't think I can.
Oscar worthy for sure.
To me, when someone does a role so perfectly that you cannot stop seeing it when you watch other things. When I was grabbing the clip of Signs and hearing his vocal cadence while he's whispering, I'm like, oh, that's very like Joker, I never noticed it.
Buffalo Soldiers, awesome.
Buffalo Soldiers is great.
Okay, that would be my
awesome.
Cool, we got there.
This is DVG 100.5 WOW FM, Dave's Video Graveyard. That's a weird sound effect at the end of that song. A pleasure to be with you here on DVG as we count through Robby Heart's favourite movies of all time.
Hey Dave.
Yes.
It's time for a quiz.
Why do you want to tell me a secret?
It's time for a quiz.
It is time now for the quiz that we usually give our guests as a heads up, but I always forget to give it to them. So it's more organic.
Awkward, long silences.
Oh, yeah, it's what we're about here on Awkward Silence FM.
So this is the quiz. Would you prefer to watch a movie at home or at the cinema?
Home.
Home? You don't like people. It's fair enough.
Don't elaborate. Just say one word. Makes a great radio.
I want one word answers for every one of these. Okay, so what's your food of choice if you do go to the cinema?
Always popcorn.
Yep.
Yep.
Not chicken? Or pasta? We've had chicken.
Why?
We've had pasta. Someone said they had a bowl of pasta.
It always has to be the big combo, the popcorn and the drink. Yeah.
Right, okay,
Me and
cool.
my girlfriend share that. It's like our thing.
Paul's upsetting me because the second Transformer movie I went and saw back in the day, dude was eating a Coles chicken with his fingers, and I'm still traumatized by it.
I feel like I should have had some kind of weird and wacky answer.
No. As long as I can bring it up and trigger him.
Stop it.
It's fine.
It smelled like...
God, yeah. Cold
like,
chicken.
No, it was hot. It was a hot chicken.
Man.
He just bought at Coles. It smelled like a nappy. Next question, Paul. Thanks.
If you could eat a chicken in... No. If you could have one...
Speaking of chicken, how about that episode of MASH where he's talking about the chicken for the whole episode? It's really a baby.
Now I'm sad. If you could only have one genre for the rest of your life, would it be comedy, horror, drama, or action?
Comedy.
Yep.
All the way.
I don't think we've actually had anyone say anything other than comedy.
No.
So, yeah, because I think you can, like, within comedy, you can sort of have a bit of... You can have dramedy and horror as well. So
comedy is the neutral I put on if I can't pick something.
Yeah.
And you got to be in the mood for horror.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll go drama. I'll go 12 Years a Slave. I'm just like...
That's an intense movie.
Just a My Girl.
Far out.
Which film that hasn't already got one deserves a sequel?
Oh, there was already 2 American Psychos, wasn't there?
It could be a sequel featuring the main story of Patrick.
I'm going to say Shaun of the Dead. It'd be interesting to see how life progressed. You know, I mean, they had a little bit of a snippet of it at the end, but let's go 5 years down and see how good it. How they're really integrating these zombies in everyday life.
I'm surprised they haven't done that actually, because like those two haven't worked on a project for a bit. So, and I heard that there could be a fourth in that group of movies too.
Please.
So, who would play you in the biopic of your life?
Maybe Christian Bale. That'd be pretty cool. What do you reckon?
It's your question to
Took your answer, Dave. Been Christian Bale from Vice.
He can do it all.
I would.
He's like, no, I can't do that.
I would be played by the fat kid from the Sandlot Kids. So shut up.
Hey.
Oh man.
Oh man, who else would make a good Robby Heart in a film?
Johnny Depp. That'd be pretty cool.
Not anymore.
I'm not floating.
If you're embarrassed and you didn't want people to see it, that's a good choice.
I'm just looking at you.
Magnus
You know what? You
Jabansky.
kind of look like the guy. Have you ever seen the show The Americans about the Russian spies?
No.
There's a guy called Matthew Rhys. You look a lot like him actually. He's about to be in the new movie about...
A lot of people used to say I look like Sean Penn, and I used to hate it.
Yeah, I'd
hate it.
Did they say the temperament
I think
of Sean
when I was
Penn?
a little bit younger, there was a bit more resemblance, and they just used to love saying that, and I just like, I can't see this.
It's because of the abusive relationship you had with Madonna that time.
It's because you... What's the...
Do you have a fat, less talented brother? Maybe not.
Hey.
Sorry, R.I.P.
Rest in peace.
Don't make me feel bad.
Every role he played was just awful. He was just like...
You know when the casting director has the word greasy written on a bit of paper, you know he's getting a call.
Someone
not
like
anymore.
Nice Guy Eddie and... Let's just get Nice Guy Eddie from Reservoir Dogs. Okay, what was the last film to make you cry?
$1 Million Baby.
Fair enough.
Yep.
That's an expensive baby. I haven't seen it. It sounds...
Obviously, I don't...
That's the boxing movie?
That they just...
Clint Eastwood?
Yes.
Yep.
Incredibly emotional. I actually started trying to watch that again recently, and it gets to the point where he's just agreed to train her again, and she's just about to start her career professionally, or start boxing with him as her trainer. And I was just like, I just don't want to go through this again. It was bloody emotional.
I know the scene. It's the scene.
Does it make you feel stronger as a wrestler that you can take way more chair shots? Oh, yeah, get it? No? Everyone's shaking their head. Okay.
It's an emotional part of the movie. It's when he's making a big speech and then he like pulls up his pants just above his nipples. He is old. Have you seen The Mule yet?
I haven't seen The Mule Bout. There was a thing on television this afternoon it was on YouTube with Clint Eastwood talking about his newer movie Since the Mule, about the story he wanted to tell, and his mouth can't move. He was like,
he's that grizzled.
He's that grizzled. He's actually sucking himself back into
The Mule
himself.
is a good movie. Like
he could play. Clint Eastwood could play the grandpa from Hey Arnold in a live action movie, because that's what he looks like.
That's the Mule.
Oh, because of all that drug running that the Hey Arnold's grandparents
That's
did.
all it was. That place was just a flap house for drug running.
What's the next question?
Okay, so which movie freaked you out as a child?
I did get into a lot of horror when I was younger, but that was kind of when I was a teenager and I was kind of rebelling, and I didn't get freaked out as such. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Doesn't have to be horror. It can just be something that just did it for you.
That actually scared me. I can't remember.
A lot of people have said Never Ending Story with the horse sinking.
No, I was a big Never Ending Story fan, but I never got scared. No.
I have a new one because in Home Alone, you know when he's worked out that the family's left him, and there's people in his head talking. When his Uncle Frank comes on and he goes, "Look what you did, you little jerk," I'm like, oh my god, that takes my top spot. Uncle Frank is horrible.
I was scared of the incinerator. Like any normal child.
You're supposed to tell it to shut up and it's fine. And then you've talked to the old man down the road that could be a murderer.
So close to making the list as well, by the way. Both Home Alones.
Good call. That would have both welcome additions.
Have you seen Home Alone 3?
No, I certainly have not. And
Do
I have
it.
no
What
intention.
about-
Do
it.
What about Halloween 4 and 5?
I may have... Which is the one where Jamie Lee Curtis dies really early on in the piece? It's like she's had enough and she's like, just get me out of this.
No, I said Home Alone, not Halloween.
Home Alone.
Yeah.
Is there a Home Alone 4 and 5?
There is.
No way.
With French Stewart from Third Rock from the Sun and
should
Roddy
watch Home
McDowell from Clockwork Orange. is the
Well,
bad
if
guy.
I didn't even know they even existed, that must be an
They are
indication
so bad.
Home
of
Alone
what we're
3,
dealing
I
with.
believe, is on the newest streaming service. Do it, man.
I remember seeing the
Just look for the name.
previews.
It's like a
that kid is just... I want to smack him across the
It's
head.
like a...
Look for the name Culkin in any Home Alone film. If it's not there, don't bother.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
future episode of the podcast. It is really, really weird and cool. Okay.
Sorry, I was a bit of a letdown on that last one. I can't remember.
Oh,
I'm
that's
sure
right.
there was something.
Look,
Hey, it's not our fault for once the show's ruined.
My
It's fine. It's
my
fine.
memory is awful.
if you could drive one vehicle from a movie, what would it be?
The Ghostbusters mobile. Oh no! The car in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, the Griswold Mobile.
Love those cars with the timber paneling on the sides. Like, I want to get one. I need to get one. I have to before I die.
We did on the podcast the Double Dragon movie from 1993.
Right. Yeah.
They're actually using the Griswold Mobile, but with like some futuristic stuff on top of it.
Oh, yes.
Pretty exciting times.
Those things are incredible. I love it. It's like they're so cliche in around the early 90s, late 80s in all the American films. Like everyone's just driving these
I
station
believe
wagons.
it was probably from like the car company. It's like, we have made a lot of these.
Yeah.
People to buy them. Yeah. So can we get the Griswolds in one? And any 80s, I think it's like any 80s movie from that. Yeah, as you said, like you could watch it. So, what was the next question? It is, if you could add, a character from
your
pop
favorite
culture.
fictional character.
Yeah. So your favorite into any movie, if you
any
add them
existing
in,
movie.
What would it be? Who would it be? And what would it be the movie?
So what? Adding them to what?
You can take your favorite character from anything, whether it be a comic book or another movie or
so
something.
you would put Batman and Aliens, like you can.
Oh, like a crossover.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who would you put in another film?
Imagine. I'm going to revert to my list because it's interesting. But what if like Terminator was in Jurassic Park?
Yes.
Yep. That's a perfect example.
I reckon the next Jurassic Park you'll probably like, because the big thing about the new ones coming out is they're making them into like a weapons of war. So I think at some point you'll see like a Terminator.
I reckon
that
just,
Raptor from the last one is basically.
It's getting to the
anyway.
point where it basically are almost Terminators.
It's just a backdoor way into a Dino Riders franchise, surely.
Now we're talking.
It's where we're always heading.
And that is the quiz. So the show's ruined, and that's all the time we have. No, we will hear all about Robbie's next film choice after this clip. This is DVG as we continue Robby Heart's favourite films of all time. Now, I'm guessing that this film inspired you in many ways. Tell us what it is and why you picked it.
Well, you just picked out probably my favourite scene in the entire movie. That every time.
I had to cut off because it was too far away. The greatest other part of it is about 2 minutes after that when he picks up the guitar and he just strums terribly and he goes, "Self-taught, Dad."
Yeah. And I love the part where George is singing the song and they'll go over to him and he's just like crying in the corner. Oh man, it's just a classic. It really is good. I mean,
we are talking about The Wedding Singer,
yes,
obviously, from 1995, I believe it. 96. I can't remember.
I think it might be late 90s.
95.
95. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's a really feel good movie. Obviously a little bit of history there. The Robby Heart character.
What a stupid name. I mean Adam Sandler, of course. Sorry.
I remember.
In my defense, I didn't give myself that name. It was a friend of
98.
mine. So.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan. Up until around 99, 2000 when things went a little downhill for him. But there was the Billy Madison period, Happy Gilmore, all that kind of stuff. And this movie in particular... Again,
I made it all the way up to Jack and Jill.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to Spanglish. Have you seen that? Wow.
Sit
through that and then ask yourself some serious
That was
questions.
second morning. But Jack and Jill was it for me.
No, The Wedding Singer, obviously I like, the 80s theme, which is like I love the period of, the music and all that. And just really funny and a really good just story behind it as well. Super, super awesome film.
Yeah. The music is fantastic.
It's probably a big part of it, to be honest. Similar to American Psycho with those 80s tracks. And, it's wicked.
It holds a special place for me because it was the first movie, like when I started working, I got my job at the video store, it was the first thing I rented out. It was like, because it had just been released, I think, the week beforehand. So I was like, it always reminds me of that. So, and I wasn't really big into Sandler at that point, but I felt like that's another person I've been watching lately. Like I watched Punch Drunk Love recently. I watched The Cobbler finally.
And?
It's really good.
I told you that for years.
And I'm basically, because there's a new one coming out called
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems, which is apparently amazing. I think it's going to come on the Red streaming service at the end of this month or early February. That looks amazing. So he's turned a corner, like his dramatic roles and stuff. Awesome.
I always talk about how I started crying in movies because Paul always cries in movies. And when we started this podcast, I used to tease people that cried in movies. But since he's opened me up to the idea, I cannot stop crying in bloody movies.
Wow.
but I do remember the only movie I've ever cried at the cinema was Click, where Adam Sandler dies about like 2/3 of the way through. But then you find out that it wasn't really the end. It was all a dream. Still, that middle was so sad. The ending couldn't fix it for me. I was still really upset by that movie.
That movie was really good. I really enjoyed that. I was surprised, actually.
And that's the ones, like, those are the ones where it's like, at least he's trying. At least he's not like, I want to go to Hawaii, so let's do 50 First Dates there. Like, and he's blatantly said that. He said, what's the one where they go to Africa with Drew Barrymore?
Blended.
And it's like, he said, I literally just wanted to make a movie in Africa. And so that's why I said it there.
And that's what the grown-ups movies are. It's him, a paycheck for him and all his friends.
By the way, if you've not seen the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, one of the funniest things, running jokes, is them calling Kevin Smith Kevin James. Whenever you say grown-ups.
Kevin can wait.
Yeah, Kevin can wait.
I mean, there are so many parts in The Wedding Singer you can just like bring up numerous scenes that just are so hilarious. Like, it's just real funny.
I loved this movie so much that I actually spent $30 on the soundtrack when the movie came out.
Oh, nice.
Just to get Kill Me, the Adam Sandler song.
That one was
I was
like,
the biggest fan.
The passion that he actually sings at. Like, he's red face, tears in the eyes, like, he's belting it out.
For some reason, like, my high school parties around that time, at some point of the night, that song would be put on, and I was like, it either sort of railroad the party, or it was like everyone was just like,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
One of the shortlisted things for my wedding back in the day, me and my wife were like toying with ideas, and she wanted my band at the time to play Love Stinks at the wedding reception, but it never eventuated. But it's all because of the wedding scene, because that is so good. Singing Love Stinks at a wedding reception.
Totally.
And one thing, like, talking about, we always talk about, that wouldn't get made today. I did recently rewatch Wedding Singer. It still holds up so well, except what he's saying about the ugly table at the wedding would not fly now. It would not fly.
How often does that happen, though, when you're watching movies these days and you'll be like, geez, you wouldn't get over that now, would you? Yeah.
That's our podcast.
All right.
Late 90s, they didn't care about the R word. But have you seen the big, like, I wasn't ever a huge fan, but like, there's been a huge thing about like how Friends storylines wouldn't do, like, it was heaps of like transphobia and
because
homophobia.
They do have that. It's much like there's a YouTube channel that I'm obsessed with called Zach Morris's Trash, where it points out Saved by the Bell episodes and how terrible Zach Morris is in real life.
Oh, wow.
But there's also one that removes all the laughter from all of Ross's parts of Friends.
Oh.
And it shows how sinister like he is of a person without the laugh track making it.
Oh, yeah. Nah, he'll be downright creepy.
It really is.
Same with like Seinfeld lines I was watching. I actually caught one the other day. Remember when George like he's hiring a receptionist, but he doesn't hire the one who's attractive because he's like, I might have sex with you. I'm like, what?
I know, he's basically just listing all the perfect things about them, like, I can't remember my name right now.
Yeah. And he's like,
dude, you just don't say that anymore.
There's this like skinny bookish one. It's the chick from News Radio. And he's like, I'm not attracted to you, so like I'm gonna hire you. I'm like, how is this okay?
Beautiful time capsules of a simpler time, not necessarily a better time. Now, you were saying you had a list that you said something about being under the thumb, and that you had a list that your partner collaborated with you on.
She did. I didn't specifically bring it up, but now that you've mentioned it.
No, you did. You did. We weren't on air at the time, but I'm pretty sure.
You're pointing at it and
said
laughing
some
at
really.
it.
Did you want to have a scope of her list?
Well, I'm not sure because you keep rolling your eyes and shaking your head every time.
Don't.
So this is Shannon's top 10. She has picked her. See, I knew it.
As soon as he said
Fantastic Mr. Fox, Edward Scissorhands.
Boo, Burton.
What's that one?
That's me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought it was. I just hadn't heard of it, so I didn't know what it was.
Fury.
Yep. Fury.
Fury is great,
It
and
is
it was
awesome.
David Ayer's last movie before he made Suicide Squad. So that was the last great movie he made.
Did you see Between Two Ferns though?
Yes.
He's like, Fury.
That's where he spits the chewing gum in his face. Interstellar, Dallas Buyers Club, Darjeeling Limited, Arrival? No. Unless it's the Charlie Sheen one from the 90s? No. No, not Charlie Sheen. Foster. Was it Foster?
Jodie Foster and Charlie Sheen.
And Predestination.
Oh,
I haven't seen that one, but I remember the poster was...
Ethan Hawke one.
That's the only one that I'm not really familiar with, to be honest.
That's cool.
But,
it's a really good concept.
She loved her movies.
Yeah, I like
there
it.
you go, Shannon. Hope you.
Well, as we said earlier when we did invite you that she was welcome to come, but you said you didn't want her to, so...
I did not say
shout
that.
out to Shannon.
Can we do the quiz, Shannon? Maybe you could actually remember think of something that freaked you out as a child.
Yeah. Where's your childhood trauma? Let's get back into the music while Robbie beats me up. This is DVG. It is DVG. We're talking all about Christmas Vacation. It took me a lot to not play Shitters for. What a film. This is on my list to watch every year at Christmas. Why did you pick this classic?
So I get together with some friends every year and we have a bit of a movie marathon.
Oh, he's got friends and a girlfriend. He's really showing off.
La-di-da.
I'm physically fit. I have friends. We don't care. We don't need either of those things.
Anyway.
I have Coke Zero on an IMDb message board.
It's generally the same films on rotation each year, and the first one is always National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It is just... It's Christmas time. It's funny as... And I've got a bit of a love for Chicago, having been there for a couple of holidays in the last 2 years. So I've got myself a Griswold hockey jersey, which I happily wore to the games.
Do you wrestle when you go over?
I haven't in America, no.
What you need to start doing is every holiday you go on, book like the smallest appearance. And then for the rest of your life, say, when I was wrestling in Chicago...
Yeah. I should have been more proactive and stuff like that. I definitely should have, yeah. But, I mean, look, just funny as. Like, you could bring up so many awesome scenes from that movie that are just over the top funny.
And just looking at some of the information, I didn't realise it came out in 1989 because... Obviously, that's when the first Batman film came out, and I have a specific memory of seeing it at the cinemas. I feel like Christmas Vacation was older than that.
Yeah,
I feel like I grew up from like a toddler watching this movie.
Like more mid-80s,
but then to find
for sure.
out that it came out the same time as Batman, it's just mind-blowing. I reckon I've seen this nearly every Christmas since '89.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm not up to that level yet, but I'm hoping to be there, to be honest.
And we're speaking a little bit off air about films where revisiting them with the moral compass of the modern day. There's a lot in the vacation movies that you revisit and you go, oh wow,
whoa, yeah,
when he's driving and the lady's next to him in the car, or everyone forgets the fact that he basically dragged a dog to death behind their car, and that's a big part of the story. Man, what a movie. Last Christmas, because the streaming service, for some weird reason, didn't have this on it, we watched Vegas Vacation instead.
I was going to bring that up. I actually watched that on Christmas this year.
So did we.
Last year, and I was just like, whoa. Like, I mean, they obviously use the same two main actors, but the kids are different. And you're just sitting there like, I don't know, what do you... Did you rate it?
It had some of the charm, because what I did like is when they go to Cousin Eddie's house, and he's like... living in like a nuclear test zone out in the middle of the desert. I did like the way they expanded on that character. There was just enough fan service for it to be okay, but it doesn't shape up to the other ones at all.
Nothing like it. But you sit through it just for the nostalgia, basically.
And I cannot stand the son. Rusty is played by, you know that dweeby dude from Empire Records?
Ethan...
I can't think of his name. He's the real nerdy one that gets eaten by Gwar in the film. Yeah. He's Rusty in it, and he's so insufferable.
I think Rusty has to be insufferable.
Ed Helms?
It's been said that you can actually chart, from the first one, you can chart when Chevy Chase's career is in trouble by the film. So, like, 85 was, like, European, 89 was, like, Christmas Vacations was, like, I need to go back to the well and do something safe, because I've tried all this stuff and no one's liking it, so... so I think that there is safe place. But this is actually my favourite one. I'll put this above... European and the original. I think it's one that I watch pretty much every Christmas. It's funny that John Hughes wrote it. Every movie I reckon he uses the phrase "for flushing," like he's an Uncle Buck. It's like it's a term of abuse, and I'm like, I've never heard it in any other thing. I don't know what it means, but it's awesome.
I know I brought up that I got my my Griswold hockey jersey that I found on online, but I also while I was in Chicago last year, I went to a few basketball games and whatever, and there was always a dude who was selling like cheap rip-off merch, and my biggest goal was to get the same hat that he wears, and I actually found that this dude was selling it, and I was like super excited. I was like, it must be like $10. It was $40 American, and I was like, dude, you know why you're selling it that much? Because people are going to see this who love that movie, and they're going to be like, I don't care, I need it. I'm like just super happy I got it. It's amazing.
Supply and demand.
Exactly. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Man, if I went to Chicago, I just know that I'd try and track down fugitive locations.
I follow a lot of online where people go to film things and hold the photo up with the shot of what it looks like now and stuff. And I don't know why, but that would excite me. But how insufferable would it be to have a friend telling you about it? Like, here's the phone books from Die Hard 3. You don't care.
You can go to the Myers house still in Pasadena in California, and they've actually got like a pumpkin.
Well, did you see that the makers of Breaking Bad actually had to pay for security to patrol the pizza house because people kept driving to the house from the show and throwing pizza on the roof?
And he did not like it one bit.
It was not worth the $1,000 they used for like the exterior shots or whatever. Christmas Vacation, it stands on its own merits in the sense I can watch it any time of year, whereas there's other Christmas movies like Scrooge, Jingle All the Way, where I can only kind of watch it around Christmas time.
Yeah.
But this movie is just fun.
The thing I do is I make sure that I wait until we have this gathering every year, because by the time Christmas comes around, I'm ready to go again, and it's like the first time, and you're just laughing at all the same things you've laughed at so many times because it's so funny though. You don't care because it's like, this is awesome,
and it has that John Hughes flavour that just. I'm not sure what it is about. Like, there's a pacing to it that's like this reminds me of Uncle Buck. Every time I watch Christmas Vacation, I go, I got to watch Uncle Buck this week.
The man had a talent. For pacing stuff. So yeah.
It is 100.5 WOWFM. We are talking about Robby Heart's favourite films of all time, and he is luckily, much shockingly, in the 3 years of this show being on air, the first person to pick the world's greatest movie in their top 10 list. He has picked Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which is the best movie ever.
How can no one else pick Terminator 2? Like, come on.
I think they think they you might think they're sucking up to it.
Yeah, they're pandering.
Far out, like, for its time, everything about this movie, like, the effects, like, the storyline, like, the scene, one particular scene is when, obviously, there's been the original Terminator and she's gone through all the trauma and she's in a mental institution or whatever it is, and the Terminators come to grab her out of the place, and she has that part where she's partly, I think she started breaking out, and she's running down the hallway and she does the skid, and like the facial expressions are just incredible. Like, you feel the fear, and then obviously he's there to save the day and whatever, but it's just amazing. Like, man, I can watch that movie any day of the week, any time of the year. I'm always down. Like,
it was one of the first
absolutely brilliant
blockbusters to subvert the bad guy or the evil from the first one to become the hero of the second one.
Yeah, exactly. And how good is that? Like, for a role reversal, like, brilliant. James Cameron?
It was the cutting edge of special effects, direction, budget.
Yep.
We got the secret world of Alex Mack thanks to Terminator 2 because of the Liquid Metal Man. We got those weird twins from the Gremlins sequel.
Yeah, we did. My favourite scene's always been in the extended cut when Michael Biehn comes back, because, no, that's just stupid.
I hate that car.
That's why.
That is such a bad car. I love Michael Biehn, though, but just not. He doesn't belong in Terminator.
I like when Arnie's in a mirror trying to smile.
They chuck a few little lame little parts in there that's kind of like...
I remember one bit that was cut out that I personally think makes it stronger and should have stayed in is where they got Linda Hamilton's twin sister to play her mirror, and they basically, because the chip's damaged inside of Arnie's head, they turn him off and reset the chip inside of his head.
Yeah.
And there's a scene that's done all with practical where it's just a dummy, and in the mirror they've got the real Arnie sitting mirroring it, and they've also got, because Linda Hamilton's a twin, they've got a twin sister, and they did this amazing scene which you can see on YouTube where they actually operate on Arnie's head while he's still awake in the reflection, because it's the real him is the reflection.
Yeah, that's cool.
But they took that out along with the learning to smile, thankfully.
I remember because Channel 10 back in the day, like over a couple of weeks, they did like the extended cut of T2. So that's when I saw all that stuff. I was like, whoa, this is actually... And then they did the extended cut of Aliens. So there's like extra, like, you know, all the stuff with there's extra bits with Newt
and the power loader as well.
Yeah. So I was just like, and that was like, I remember it was must have been back in VHS days because the Aliens one was too long.
I taped it.
3-hour one.
I taped the Terminator 2 one off, and I didn't like it. However, it did have the ending that had old Sarah and old John at a playground with the kid.
Yeah.
And I hated that ending so bad because the actor that played future John just did not look like Edward Furlong at all. Did you see Terminator Dark Fate at all?
Is that the most recent one? I haven't seen the most recent one, no.
I genuinely recommend it.
3.
3's good. 3's good, isn't it?
3 is an absolute train wreck in my opinion.
But in comparison to the fourth one,
Fourth's got Christian Bale. Shh, don't upset him.
I was just about to say how good the fourth one was.
Are you saying that you like Terminator Salvation?
I didn't mind it.
I'm going to wrestle move you through the desk.
All right, that's it.
He's going to the Black Hawk's hat enough.
He's going to pile driver you through the table, and it's not the wrestling pile driver.
What? Am I doing it right? What?
It's the adult site category one.
I Urban Dictionary it.
You are getting a hot lunch through the table.
Now, are there 6 now currently? There's 6.
There's 6, but officially because of this Terminator Dark Fate, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Terminator Dark Fate.
Oh, yeah, I
or
got you now. Yep.
Originally there was Salvation and Genesis. No, Salvation, Rise of the Machine, Genesis, which is the worst movie ever made. Ever.
So they basically Halloweened it. They basically let's disregard 4, 5, and 6
Yes.
and let's start all over again.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh man, Salvation. What's your next movie? I don't care.
Who is this guy? Why do we invite him on here?
I think... cool. Let's hear about your next film.
No worries.
...2008, an all-in brawl at the night train that we were playing a gig at. Like, it was really intense. And someone yelled, "Kick his ass, Seabag." And it remains one of my favourite scary memories ever. You have picked Dumb and Dumber. What an amazing film. From the Farrelly brothers before they started making Green Book. No, not Green Book.
Green Book, you're right.
Just one of them.
Yeah.
Shannon actually made a point of that, so I was going to bring that up. So I'm glad you did that. So there you go, Shannon. Farrelly Brothers, Green Book. Yeah. Oh,
no, why did you pick Dumb and Dumber? We were just talking off air about the director's cut, which is a very mean-spirited film.
That whole movie could have gone in another direction.
Definitely. Because
some weird stuff is in those scenes.
The theatrical cut of Dumb and Dumber is Harry and Marv are too stupid to be too nasty, other than selling a parrot to a blind kid.
Pretty bird.
They managed to tread the line of being horrible but at their own detriment. But the director's cut, they're actually much nastier people, and it makes you not like them as people. And I know why they cut it the way they did.
Because I think I messaged you recently. I saw it, and there was like a scene I've never seen before where they pick up like it's like a bunch of Mexicans on the side of the road, and then they're a band, and they start, like, after they do the most annoying noise sound in the world. I'm like, I've never seen this bit. It's like, how many different versions of this movie is there?
And because there's the scene where Harry runs into Seabass later in the film again, but he instantly accidentally knocks him out with the toilet door.
Yeah.
There is a really rough scene that was in the director's cut that I would not recommend checking out because it is upsetting where it goes. Have you ever seen... In the movie, they obviously play Crash Test Dummies, which everyone loved in primary school.
Yep.
There's another Crash Test Dummy song called The Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead. And Jeff Daniels actually stars as Harry in the music video. And it's basically a little spin-off movie about Harry in this music video.
Oh, really?
And it is it's out there, man. But I recommend it just because... Any fans of Dumb and Dumber will be like, oh, this is really weird to see.
It's really cool.
And because it's like a Canadian, like the Crash Test Dummies outside of Canada didn't do that much other than the one hit wonder.
Yeah.
It's really obscure to see this song you've never heard by a band that no one cares about, but with a Dumb and Dumber inspired music video with Harry actually playing Harry.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's insane, man.
It's like Harry's time to shine. Like, that's really cool.
I have to say, I found the soundtrack to this in an op shop like years ago, and man, I really like it. It's like mid-90s like crap rock, and it's awesome.
Garofalo rock.
Yeah,
it's for fans of Janine Garofalo.
Yeah, it's pretty much like always sort of like bands like all look the same. They're like the Gin Blossoms and lots of stuff. It's just I think they're on there actually.
Love the Gin Blossoms.
Yeah, who doesn't?
So if we were to pretend that basically all these weird scenes were never included, because let's face it, a lot of people might not have ever seen those.
Yeah.
If we talk about the Dumb and Dumber that you generally see on TV, it's a pretty funny movie, I'd like to think.
No, I want the Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber is one of my favourite comedies of all time.
Yeah, if you just want to sit down and laugh, you don't want to have to think, you can just watch this movie anytime and you just love it.
And I often cite 1994, Dumb and Dumber came out. Jim Carrey had Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura both come out in the same year. That is an insane year because they are two of my favourite comedies.
Again, so close to making the list, but it was tough.
Well, Sorry.
Oh, he's been doing press because he plays the big bad in this new Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and he's been saying that he's open to a Mask sequel, not a reboot, like a sequel. And he's like, if it's got the right filmmaker, he's down for it. So I'm like, that'd be something that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
With today's possibilities.
Interesting enough, I brought up Adam Sandler's failed attempt at a semi-serious movie in Spanglish. I actually thought Jim Carrey and a few of his other more like...
The Majestic.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
Yeah, that's what I was... come on.
The Truman Show's great, though.
Yeah, the Truman Show's great.
Yeah, like he's got the range to actually do a little bit more than what Adam Sandler does.
Have you seen the show about Cool Kidding?
No.
That's awesome.
Is that the most recent thing?
Yeah.
I saw one episode. And
do the entire season. It's really, really good. And it's got a second season coming out now. It's basically plays like a Mr. Rogers type sort of person.
That's right, yeah.
But then he sort of like cracks a bit on air, and it's really good.
Yeah, he's going through a very, like he's growing as a person, I think.
He's painting?
Now that he's a bit older,
Have you seen his paintings?
I haven't seen his paintings.
He does paintings of Trump and stuff. And
really?
It's like...
He's almost becoming like a born-again hippie of some sort, I think.
Yeah,
He's woke.
Yeah.
He's woke.
He's woke.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's exactly what's going on.
His comedians in cars getting coffee episode is really
He's
good.
woke, but he's not Tom Cruise woke.
No,
that's
that's
scary.
Who could be?
Kind of path to go
No
down.
one can be that woke.
No. I've spoken before on air, but there's a roundtable thing on YouTube. I believe it was done by GQ, perhaps, and it's a whole heap of famous comedians get in a room and just sit and chat. And I think it's Jim Carrey, it's the Fonz. I think. Who else is there? There's Henry Winkler. I think is Jerry Seinfeld there. Ted Danson's there for some reason. Don Cheadle.
Yeah, it's like basically Don Cheadle's there, like, and no one really wants to hear from him. But yeah, he's there.
And it's so amazing every time Jim Carrey talks. It's like a master at work, and everyone's just sitting like. Even though a lot of them are like way more not famous, but much more accomplished actors.
Yeah,
they just sit riveted because he's just switched on, man.
He just seems so happy to be there. And
yeah,
that's the thing. Is like that's I respect that way more now. I suppose like it goes with being older and stuff. It's like if you can put the effort in to actually be happy to be somewhere. I'm so impressed.
I don't know it. I don't know how to do that.
I think just Jim Carrey's ability to play the characters that he does. He just goes, full bore into what he does. Like Ace Ventura, especially. Like if you watch that movie, there's not actually a single point in that movie where he's serious at all, except for the part where he tells the female actress, whatever her name is,
Courtney Cox.
Yeah, about the story when he had a dream as a kid and he ends up becoming a dog and like pretending to bite her or something like that. And that's probably the only serious part in the entire movie, but it's like lasts for maybe 10 to 15 seconds. It's just full bore like the whole time. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, speaking of iconic comedies, your next choice of films is a film I've probably seen more than any film ever. This is DVG. It is 100.5 WOW FM. What an amazing choice. Robby Heart, you have picked A Wayne's World.
You approve?
I approve. What a film. I reckon this would be close to, if not in, my top 10 films of all time.
Yeah, I mean, how many people wouldn't have it in their top 10? I mean, come on. Like Wayne's World. Like,
It is such a
iconic
good
in
movie.
so many ways. I mean, I'm not...
Mike Myers very Adam Sandler-esque in his career. You followed it?
Yeah, it's totally true, yeah. I think this was like the peak for him, though. I think both movies were incredible, but the original, always the best as far as I'm concerned. And still to this day, I'm going to bring it up, is the best cameo from a character from another movie with the T-1000.
Robert Patrick, yeah.
Who does not love that part? Like, how do they convince that guy so close to Terminator 2 to being in that movie? It was amazing.
Have you seen this, boy?
It's just, you just wait for it. Every time I watch it, and I just lose it every time. It's so good.
There's a scene I also love in Last Action Hero because it's set in like the world where all the fictional characters exist. And there's a bit where they're walking into the police precinct and someone knocks into him. Into Arnie.
really?
He turns around, it's Robert Patrick as T-1000 and he just keeps walking. Such a good scene, man. Oh, Robert Patrick's done nothing of note. And don't talk about X-Files, Paul. No.
His season has just started on SBS and I am watching it avidly. It is so good.
Is he still going with that, or
No, he just did the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, right,
And everyone
yeah,
always dumps on it, but they're actually really good episodes, and people should just dig it.
You're not convincing me with that one. Sorry.
I'm not sold. I even love Wayne's World 2 just as much as the first one. I think they're both, much like you said that Home Alone was one of your honourable mentions. 1 and 2 was so perfect that I'm kind of glad there wasn't a third of either of those franchises. Because what more could they do? It would ruin it.
Guarantee there'll be one more.
Yeah.
I guarantee it in about
I
2
hope
or 3
not.
more years before Danny Carvey can stop doing impressions.
And also, obviously, having travelled to Chicago, the movie is set in Illinois, but not in Chicago. It's actually
45 minutes out.
Aurora. I did a bit of a Google on Aurora before I left, and I decided not to visit because there's not a lot to do there, to be honest.
You could have gone to
Find the
Milwaukee and seen Alice Cooper.
I could have. Jeez.
Or Milwaukee.
How brilliant is that? That's, I mean,
Yes, that's
far
right,
out.
Steve.
Does this guy know how to party or what?
I often talk about whenever someone just tells me more than I need to know. I always bring up Chris Farley and Wayne's World.
Yeah.
He seemed to know it.
Yeah.
He seemed to know enough for a security guard. Oh man, what a good choice! And let's continue rounding up this list. I cannot see it because it's bent.
Is that making it
Yeah,
easy? Yep.
we're getting there. This is DVG. You picked the movie that made the world fall back in love with the zombie films from 2004, Shaun of the Dead, directed by Edgar Wright, written by Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, the first of the Cornetto trilogy. What an amazing choice.
The Cornetto trilogy. I mean, how amazing is that? I've seen this movie an offensive amount of times, and yeah, it was so close to being number one. It just couldn't make it. We don't want to give away what number one was. But wow, what do you need to say about Shaun of the Dead? Zombies, comedy, what a brilliant concept. Absolutely sensational.
I love behind the scenes of this because they added so many Easter eggs, like when they're in the apartment and when they're fighting with the roommate because they keep leaving the door unlocked. In the background, there's all these posters, and that's actually Simon Pegg's childhood DJ posters of him actually DJing stuff. They put stuff like that in there.
Oh,
and
wow.
I also love, they said the hardest thing of making this entire film was they were told because of the rating they could have one C word. And so they said they shot so many scenes with one in there that they were like, all right, we have to use it the best. And then it ended up being, does any of you want a drink?
Yeah.
Because it just was the most
that
organic.
Had to be that one,
Because it was just the most organic one.
It's good because it's establishing his character early. So it was
100%.
perfect, wasn't it? You had to use it.
Oh, man, what an amazing character Nick Frost plays in this film. He steals the movie in a lot of ways.
Oh, totally, yeah. He's the shining light. But I also realised years and years later, after I'd watched it, he did a series like before he started making movies.
Spaced, yeah.
And I didn't realise that when they're doing their little getaway and they're running down a back lane and they run into some people.
Yeah.
And it's actually his former girlfriend. From that show. And there's actually other characters. And you realise that, and you're like, no one would know that.
Unless they actually how are you doing surviving?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was just stuff like that. It was brilliant.
No, it's really cool. Yeah, Space is really cool. Very weird at times, but yeah.
And his father-in-law,
Dylan Moran playing the guy that's kind of interested in his girlfriend, and he just plays a prick. So yeah. It's also like at the time, like they have the people from the Office in the UK in it.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just it was like a who's who of up and coming people and people who are mainstays of the British film scene too. So
there's a lot of different.
I loved going and seeing the most recent Jurassic Park film because the big bad guy is the kid that says you got red on you. Like it's that he is the big bad of the new Jurassic Park film. I'm like, you have come a long way.
He's like 17 in the show. I just, speaking of Dylan Moran, obviously a very significant scene is the get effed 4 eyes. It's the way, basically, Shauna, you 9 lives are and he just closes his eyes like, he's just had enough.
Man.
He, like, that, Dylan Moran's character in that, just, at the time, there was someone I knew that was like, so much like him, and I'm just like, oh. So I lived out my fantasy of saying that to him.
Another, obviously, the pool cues, along with Queen at the end.
Cannot hear Don't Stop Me Now without thinking of Shaun of the Dead.
Did this come out before Dawn of the Dead? Or
What's that?
Did this come out, because this is the same year as the new Dawn of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead was 2003, and then the following 2004. Cool. But Shaun of the Dead was already on the circuit, like the competition circuit, and George A. Romero saw this, and he's like, I'll pay to get it out if it doesn't get out. And that was enough for people to go, money, money, money.
That was a good year for zombies. Like that's when the zombie thing just started off. And
it started everything The Walking Dead ruined.
I also like the fact that it's obviously a comedy, but there's still that one scene like right at the end where they're in the pub, they're trying to get out. Dylan Moran has the scene where he's getting pulled apart by the zombies, and you're watching, you're like, oh, jeez. Intestines.
It's very Day of the Dead.
Where did that come from? I was having a really good time.
But he's also a prick. So
exactly.
It's like, and then, Jared Leto.
And his partner grabs like one of his limbs and just cracks us, runs out with it, holding his leg or something. Everything's just falling apart.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great choice. It is DVG. We're talking about the greatest films of all time as chosen by Robby Heart. He has chosen the next game changer because he picked Terminator 2, which changed visual effects, and that next step was taken in 1993 by Jurassic Park. Why did you pick this film?
Oh, there's just so much wow with this movie. Like, anytime I want to go back to my childhood, it's always Jurassic Park. Like, again, you've seen the movie an offensive amount of times, but you can just put it on and you look at the effects, the cinematography, and it's like, whoa, they did this in 1993. Like, these dinosaurs look real, man. Like, they still do. Like, I still see films and TV shows these days that got worse graphics than that.
Yeah.
And it's like legit looks like real dinosaurs. Like, it's just incredible from start to finish. Like, wow, amazing movie.
There's a
dinosaurs. Like, come on, dinosaurs.
There's a stop motion puppeteer known as Phil Tippett. He was the leading, like, the world's best animatronic, like, dinosaur maker, and he was working on this film. And while he was doing it, someone come along and said, "Hey, can I show you Stephen what?" Because they'd already started doing it with puppets.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And this dude come along and goes, "Hey, Stephen, can I show you what I can do on my computer?" And Phil Tippett was like, "Oh shit!"
No, Phil, you stay there.
He was like, "I've just seen my art form die."
Yeah.
However, he was smart enough that he actually implemented rigging up the puppets with sensors so that the movement of the puppets got taken into the computer.
Yeah,
So he's
cool.
like, I'm still part of it.
Yeah, I can still be in this, right?
Yeah. So that I love that story because it was the first, like you say, it was the first and probably the most effective use of special effects at the time.
We're talking
like,
1993, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is well beyond its time. And I love the storyline from the start, like the way that they've managed to get the DNA out of the mosquitoes. It's like, who would have thought of that? It's just like, this is so cool, and they're actually making dinosaurs again, like, far out. And that first scene with the big, the Brontosaurus,
Yeah.
and it's just like, yeah.
I also love the writer Michael Crichton, is it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He is such a dick. He sold Jurassic Park to Steven Spielberg, and then he's like, "I've written 2 more Jurassic Park books, but you can't have them till you make movies of my other 3 books." And one was Congo, one was something else.
Yeah.
So he basically strong-armed them to make these other shitty movies.
So that's how those movies
just
came
to
out.
get, yeah.
I was wondering who
Congo
let
was
those
made.
movies get released.
just to get the next Jurassic Park, which was a bit of a disappointment to a lot of fans, but it is what it is.
I have to say, the Lost World actually came out on my birthday when I was like in grade 9, so I was able to take the day off from school and go to the cinema by myself, and it was probably the greatest day of my life. So.
Another true crime podcast.
This one's on my own.
Even worse.
No witnesses.
So that is a very well-rounded list. What were some of the honourable mentions? Can you remember?
Yeah, well, I had actors because I love Leonardo DiCaprio, and I went through his entire list of films, but I couldn't actually put any of them above any of these. Tom Hanks as well.
I'm really upset because I've been reading your notes all night, and upside down, I thought Tom Hanks said Tombstone. I was like, I love that movie, but never mind.
I guess it could maybe Tombstone. I did an honorable mention to 1917, which I saw last week. Obviously, a very good movie. I love war films, but I didn't want to be cliche and choose something like Saving Private Ryan. So
It hasn't been picked very often. I think we've been picked a couple of times, but yeah.
Both the Home Alones, like, come on, everyone. It was very tough. So
all 5 of them.
I also I think we mentioned before about like funny voiceovers for films. I always bring up the Christian Bale in the Batmans, because when he's just ordinary Bruce Wayne, he's got this kind of normal demeanor, but he puts the mask on. It's like, where are you? I'm like, whoa, this is
Lie to me.
Yeah, this mask has some special powers.
Oh man,
there's the Pete Holmes show. It was like a skit show, and he absolutely tore to shreds the Dark Knight trilogy. And it was so funny because he pays that all out.
Yeah.
And like he kept forgetting that he's not in the Batman suit, and so it's Bruce Wayne talking like that. And Commissioner Gordon's like, "Why are you talking like that?" He's like, "1 minute." And he looks and panics. He goes off screen, then comes back, but he's just got the eye makeup. No, he's dressed as Batman, but he's got the tuxedo on. And he does a voice, then he jumps off and comes back as he's like, "Oh, it's me, it's Bruce Wayne." He goes, "You've still got the eye makeup." It's just such a funny thing. You have some wrestling coming up very shortly.
Yeah. So we're back at it on March 14th. We're heading back to the Port Adelaide Recreational Centre, 50 St Vincent Street in Port Adelaide. It's an all-ages show, so we'll have our usual Facebook and Instagram announcements soon enough, but I would love to see a lot of people at that.
Awesome. And where can people check out your stuff on the socials?
I do most of my updates through social medias like Instagram, things like that. Few YouTube, we do
LinkedIn.
Robby Heart LinkedIn, fancy that.
What's your MySpace address?
I would have no idea. We do release our shows online generally. We're just in the process of changing the format. We used to stream it all live, but we're going to be doing recorded shows for release soon enough.
Sweet.
So that'll be available at some point.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, taking us through your test. You're always welcome back.
We could do another 10 movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Shannon's movies.
Yeah.
She had her time to shine.
Shannon, you were invited, okay? Just so you know.
Did he not
I've got
did he not ask
documentation.
you? Oh.
He said no. He said, I'm not asking her.
Don't
Can you
do this,
believe
guys.
it?
Come
Can
on.
you believe it?
We're better than this.
And we may be on air if we're not injured in the next 10 minutes. This is DVG. It's been an absolute pleasure.